for the sake of the people of the world. But there is one man here on Earth who will never kneel before you.
Who is this imbecile? Where is he?
Hey, it's hard not to worry for the future of the comic book medium when the fans expect nothing from superheroes. I mean, it's unreal. Long extended conversation kind of going on Twitter about Superman's purpose, his obligations, his duty to save us, to protect us first. It's a really weird situation that we're in, where fandom has sort of let superheroes off the hook as, well, they're only human. No, they're not only human. They're not. They are symbols of what the very best people would do if they were entrusted with infinite power. And what the very best people would do if they were entrusted with infinite power is save us in every possible way. Superman is the ideal man. He is somebody who you're supposed to want to be like. I wish I could emulate Superman. We're not talking about his superpowers. I don't want to shoot eye beams out of my eyes. Well, maybe I do, but that's not why I love Superman. I love Superman because he makes good choices, and when he makes bad choices, he learns from them. And I was watching the Donner cut of Superman 2 last night, starring Christopher Reeve. And in that movie, Superman shows some human frailty in that he falls in love with Margot Kidder. I mean, and the only way he could be with Margot Kidder, who is a human, Lois Lane, is he has to become a human being. He has to give up his birthright, his extraordinary powers that come from the yellow sun of Earth. And he has a conversation with his father, the very wise Marlon Brando as Jor-El, and says, "Father, I love her. Do you understand? Like, I am going to make this sacrifice. I'm going to let go of my responsibilities to protect the people of Earth to be with this woman that I love." And see, that in itself is a mistake, but it's noble, and we understand it, and we all do that. I mean, we all leave home for love, for reasons of love, because it's a natural thing to fall in love, to find that someone, fall in love with them, and just want to give everything, sacrifice everything that you have for them. That's a noble thing. So it's a good mistake that he made, but it's a bad mistake because Superman obviously has duties far beyond what you and I have, what we've been entrusted with. So he makes a mistake. He realizes the gravity of his mistake really quickly when 3 supervillains come to Earth, and he is the only one who could shoulder the burden of saving us from enslavement at the hands of General Zod. And he gets his powers back, and he becomes Superman again, and there you go. I mean, we learned a lesson. We can't be mortal. We can't give in to our whims, to the things that we want sometimes for ourselves, to our selfish desires, because we have bigger obligations, we have bigger responsibilities. So I love that movie. I mean, even Superman making a mistake like that serves to teach us a lesson about ourselves. And Superman in general, I've loved since I was a kid, because most of the time he makes the best choices. In the things that he says, and the things that he does, in the way he will put himself last. He makes choices that define him as a man, and choices that I wish could define me as a man. I always say, boy, I wish I had the strength of character to be like Superman. All right, so that is the reason why the Christopher Reeve version of Superman and the classic DC version of Superman, the Superman that we depict in our comic books, most of the time. I mean, some writers get it a little bit wrong, but most of the time, the Superman that I was taught about, and you know, that has been sort of driven home to my heart since I started working at DC Comics, you know, is there. I mean, people get it right, but when they get it wrong spectacularly, and then I think it confuses fans. I think, is it just this generation of fans that doesn't expect much of Superman? These people are saying, you know, I'm complaining about movies like, you know, Man of Steel, in which Superman never seems to save another person. Now, this is a guy who will risk his secret identity to save a boy who's fallen in, one single boy who's fallen into Niagara Falls. So, you know, that's a problem. He's like, oh, I've got to figure out. First job is to become Superman, rescue this child, and bring him back to his mother. Secondly, I'm going to have to find a way to explain this lamely to Lois Lane. That's Superman. Superman's going to do that. He's going to rescue your kitten from a tree. You don't think he's going to do whatever he can possibly do to prevent Metropolis from burning to a cinder, and God knows how many of us die? I don't care about the choice Superman makes at the end of the movie. If you haven't seen it yet, I don't care, because I'm already dead. You know, it's like me, my family, everyone who would live in that city that was under Superman's protection, that, by the way, according to this movie, is only being threatened because Superman came to Earth and these monsters followed him there. If Superman had stayed where he was or landed on the moon, we'd be just fine. But no, he came to Earth, and so now we're supposed to thank him for what? Finally, you know, killing... sorry, that was a spoiler. That was a spoiler. For finally making a choice that goes against his supposed morality in this movie. We're supposed to thank him for that. We're already dead, so I don't have anything to thank him for. This is not Superman. And then people say things like, well, listen, that's the choice he had to make. He was in that spot. No, this isn't real. This is a movie. This is a construct. This was created, designed. This entire scenario was created and designed by someone. There are no hard and fast choices that need to be made here. This is basically the work of a writer who could choose to depict Superman any way he wants. And when you take into consideration things like what I would do, or you know, realism, you're missing the point. You're being trusted with these characters that have been around for many, many, many decades, that people have loved, that have served as avatars of goodness and righteousness and purity since World War II and before World War II. And you can't screw it up. You're not allowed to screw it up. We all, as comic book creators, inherit these characters. Our job is to protect them and to leave them as shiny and new and as wonderful as they were when we got them, if not better. And that is our duty. And if we fail in that duty, I really think, you know, even though it's just comics, even though these are fictional characters, I really feel society is poorer, is less well off when we goof up something like Superman. And it's not like we don't have so many good examples of what Superman should be like when he's well done. Now, these people who say things like, well, this is, you know, listen, let's be realistic here. Hey, you're the one telling a Superman story. What, I mean, if you were going to tell a Santa Claus story, since it's the Christmas season right now, what would you have him? Only finish a block in Detroit somewhere and then say, well, he's just one man. What do you expect? He couldn't hit all the houses in the world in one night. No, he can. He's Santa Claus. That's the premise of the character. He can hit all the houses in one night and fill them all with toys and everything like that. It's one thing Santa Claus can do. And if you can't wrap your mind around that, then you do not belong as a creator making a Santa Claus movie. If you cannot wrap your mind around this man who is from outer space. He came to Earth as a little child. He was raised by good, wholesome Midwestern parents who adopted him, took him in, raised him with the right set of American values to grow up and be a good man, a Superman, not just in the fact that he has powers, but in the fact that he makes good choices. He would not make a child with Lois Lane out of wedlock. He wouldn't do that. He just wouldn't do that because he's a good boy. He would marry Lois Lane first, or he would try to, and then find out that his life did not permit him to marry anyone. He would not leave planet Earth for 5 years to go on some navel-gazing intergalactic voyage to discover the world that he came from, which is no longer there anyway. He wouldn't do that because he doesn't know Krypton. He never really lived on Krypton consciously. He was just an infant. Mom and Dad are Ma and Pa Kent. They are not Lara and Jor-El. He doesn't know them except through, in some tellings, the crystals and the Fortress of Solitude, the teachings that they wanted to leave him as a birthright and an inheritance. Oh boy, it does worry me because, again, you know, this is my job. I have one job, and my one job is to take care of these characters. I am just one man. I am not Superman. I am just Ethan Van Sciver, and I'm just one of many. And fortunately, there are many, many, many great creators right now that work alongside me that understand these characters and wish to protect them the same way that I do, wish to preserve what's good about them, and wish to pass them on to the next generation when I become too old to hold a pencil, and let them tell great stories about Hal Jordan and Wonder Woman and Superman for the next generation of kids who are anxious to have fictional role models in their lives, to give them hope, to entertain them, to give them a sense of right and wrong. And that is our job. And it's a simple job, but I think it's an important job. I think it is noble, and I think that the hearts and minds that created these characters back in the late 30s and early 40s were good people, and we owe it to them to preserve their vision. So no, I don't accept Superman's failings. I don't expect him to ever let me down, ever, on the screen or in comics. I expect him to live up to my expectations of him 100% of the time, so that I know who I should want to be like, who I should aspire to be. And that's the way I felt about him since I was 3 years old. Anyway, sorry for this long, crazy rant. Some things you just feel in your heart, and you know, you could just I could talk about this all day long. It's a passion. It's important to me, you know, and I think it's important to some of you guys too. Anyway, I'm going into the mall. I'm doing some Christmas shopping. I got to get it done at some point. See you guys later.